waste is a dangerous issue. An insatiable amount of resources are wasted, it heavily pollutes the environment, and leaves millions without food. The United States should put in new implementations by creating new laws and drawing upon other nations' food waste management ideas to handle the situation. The topic of food waste has been gaining a lot of traction within the past 5 years. The scientific community has seen an increase in the amount of academic publications focused on food waste, making it apparent that food waste is becoming a more and more pressing issue. Getting food from farms to our plates uses 10% of the total U.S. energy budget, as well as 50% of the land and 80% of all fresh water consumed in the United States. Despite all of those resources, 40% of food in the United States goes uneaten, which amounts up to $165 billion wasted each year. Food losses by just 15% would be enough to feed more than 25 million Americans every year. That would be a huge win, especially since approximately 1 out of every 6 Americans do not have stable food security. That is close to 52 million people, so reducing losses by 15% would nearly cut that in half. In the industry sector, 79 billion pounds of food are wasted annually. However, 69% of this food is typically recovered and used to feed animals. Food loss during this stage will be because of bad weather conditions during growing seasons and problems within the processing plants and refrigeration on delivery trucks. Sector, 43 billion pounds of food are wasted annually. Waste stems from stores throwing food away because it has reached its sell-by date and to make room for newer shipments of food. A lot of the food is still completely edible, but it may not have been purchased because of the way it looked or because of the lack of awareness into what the sell-by date means. Most food waste occurs in the consumer sector, however, where 90 billion pounds of food are wasted annually. Consumer waste happens simply by throwing out leftover food, really old cans or boxes of uncooked food, and even the food that is prepared for the plate. Consumer and retail food loss combined is the national food loss number, because those two sectors refer to edible food. Food in the industry sector has not yet been processed and wouldn't always be safe for human consumption, so it is not considered as edible. However, it is still potential food wasted. Uneaten food ends up going to landfills and just sitting there, resulting in a large portion of U.S. methane emissions, and it is the largest contributor to the United States' municipal solid waste. So on top of food not going to people in need, all of this waste is causing harm to the environment. If less food were wasted, that would mean less harmful gas emissions. Additionally, resources would be put to more effective use, and a whole lot of money could be saved and put towards other sections of the U.S. budget. It's clear to see that food waste needs to be reduced. But how do we make this happen? Well, in the U.S., there are charitable organizations and food banks that people can donate to, and the Good Samaritan Food Donation Act ensures that donors are not liable for harm done by donated food, as long as it was given in good faith. These are the current ways that the U.S. combats food waste, other than trying to be proficient in the industry and retail sectors. Outside of the U.S., France has passed legislation which makes it illegal for stores to destroy edible products, and stores will be required to sign agreements with authorized charitable organizations in order to donate extra food that the organization requests. This policy is the first of any of its kind and makes France a global leader for food waste prevention. Additionally, Sweden encourages its retailers to transform food waste into biofuels. This has had some negative consequences, though, because the country relies a bit too much on food waste as an energy source, and it is still an issue that they want to improve upon. But first, they need to find alternative sources of energy to cover up for what they would lose by not using food as biofuel. Providing for the vast majority of citizens, but there are so many issues with how things are going that can be improved, and not every solution needs to be on a grand scale. Small and creative initiatives have been shown to be successful in reducing food waste. In 1996, an experiment tested whether or not elementary school students would eat more food depending on when their recess and lunch were scheduled. It was found that there is about 10% less food wasted by putting recess before lunch. Small ideas like this could make a big difference in the long run. Why hasn't more action been taken if food waste really is such a big deal? People understand that it is an issue. However, there's an attitude behavior gap that shows that a framework that would empower people in a supply chain is missing. In other words, there's no domino effect in place that will build up to an inevitable solution. This is where France's legislation comes in. It could be a trigger that will cause action. Unfortunately, despite the massive support that France's legislation has received, there are worries that are held by stores and charities in France. However, they are still happy to be going through with the legislation, and charities are thankful to receive food to give to those in need. The new legislation's policy was to create a dedicated agency with 1,000 community service positions to be focused on food waste. So this will help out charities worried about being overstaffed. Another issue is that some stores are taking advantage of some thin guidelines that ascertain to the new legislation. There is not a specified amount as to how much they have to donate. It could be as little as 1%. This is stubborn to deal with, but hopefully as the young policy develops, the stores will change their ways or will be required to donate more. In the United States, there is skepticism concerning the logistics of getting safe, wholesome, and edible food to people that can use it. It would be a really expensive system to recover what is seen as marginal amounts of food. But in the 2 years since France's legislation passed, it has shown signs of being an effective means of dealing with food waste. So by implementing new laws and adopting ideas from other nations, the U.S. can improve upon itself and reduce the negative effects that occur from food waste.